What's up, everybody? This is your girl Erica from the Classic Clown blog, talking to you today about Atlanta. Atlanta is the battle for America, and I think it'll play out in multiple cities. We can use the word gentrification, but we can also use examples of other cities to show you what's going to happen in Atlanta is going to happen in your city as well. If you're in the chat, drop your city and state, and thank our lovely co-host, Mr. Diamond Dave. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
What's going on, Erica? This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave, the founder of the highest paid part-time job in the Word Options training program. But I'm really happy to be here to talk about this issue with Atlanta and to give a lot of people some context. I lived in Atlanta for around 6 or 7 years before I started moving in Atlanta. I'm from the state of Florida. We would go to Atlanta on a regular basis because I'm old enough to remember that's what a lot of the really nice clubs was at outside of maybe Miami. So being in between those, we would go either up to Atlanta, go down to Miami. So I saw Atlanta. Started moving to Atlanta like in the late 90s, early 2000s, before we started seeing a lot of the changes that we're currently seeing today.
Love it, love it. So, you guys, as you know, I was looking for Airbnb in Atlanta for a long time and Nashville for a long time. And the same time I left North Carolina to come to Texas, or flipped a coin and left, it started to boom, right? And I've done it on this channel for years now. There's a Forbes Boomtown list that has 16 towns on it. And it's always had those up there. But before that, I went to a real estate conference in North Carolina before I moved. They said, hey, we're going to break up these tech companies from California and high taxes, and they're going to move it to, and they named off like 6. And it was like Atlanta, but they really meant Alpharetta, Nashville, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, Charlotte, somewhere in Florida. It was like northern Florida state. And then it was also Austin, Texas, and then also another tech hub. But essentially, that's what's happened. That's what's occurred over the past 6 years, and you're going to see it on steroids. Something I've been talking about with Diamond Dave is the fact that what I see play out in Atlanta plays out almost everywhere else. And I feel because, prime example, Texas and Florida got a lot of flack in the news for the no mask mandates. But Atlanta and Nashville were doing the same thing. Tennessee, the whole state, and Atlanta, Georgia were on, let's go outside.
Yeah.
And so we just took a lot of flack for it. So I always tell people, these systems repeat each other. The land developer over the city planning in Austin, Texas, got a job promotion to Raleigh, North Carolina. So these people kind of have the same skills, and they keep moving around the same circles. It's very few people that have these strategic long-term planning goals. So part of why I'm trying to address this is a lot of people say, well, Erica's the crime. The crime's out of control. And I propose to you, it's bigger than that. It's deeper than that. And I'll let Diamond Dave kind of kick in here some, because, you know, it's deeper than that. People think, oh, well, it's just crime. We got to get this crime under control.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I saw when I was living in Atlanta is that they have this area, and people in Atlanta know what's called the Beltway. And essentially, it's like a square block they built around the city. That's kind of like a walking path. It's really for people to go and enjoy themselves and exercise. And what we saw was that a lot of the development around the Beltway started to really accelerate, and the houses around that particular area started to get very, very expensive. And these were some of the areas of Atlanta that people a lot of times historically did not want to live in. And what you're seeing with Atlanta, to me, is a desire to bring in a higher income person, and that can pay the cost of living actually inside the city, and then pushing the poor people out. And because Atlanta historically was an area where all the money had kind of left the city, left actual city limits, everybody was living outside, and a lot of the poverty was inside the city. What we're seeing all over the country is they're starting to take the cities back. So for a lot of us, we're too young to remember when you had higher income people actually living in the inner city. And then you had a switch to where they left and went to the suburbs, and they let poor people come into the inner cities. Now we're seeing a lot of that turn around, and Atlanta is really showing that. And to me, they're using the crime as a justification, but they're going to get everybody out of the city, right, that doesn't want to kind of abide by the rules. And they understand that you can't have a city full of violent criminals and attract people with a lot of money, because they're not going to pay to live in that kind of environment.
Right. So prime example I think of this is a lot of news reports are showing you're going to have the biggest exodus from cities that you had in the past 50 years. Now, when we talk about cities, I'm just going to go there. People don't think Atlanta, right? Because Atlanta can fit inside of South Dallas. When people say, and I'm just going to go there, right? When people talk about cities leaving major cities, they're talking about Los Angeles. They're talking about New York City. They're talking about Chicago, which they have been flooding, losing people left and right. They're talking about parts of from Philly on up, right? High density locations. People are trying to maximize their money and go somewhere that's safe and also has opportunity for the future. Atlanta has been that place, right? And we make a joke. There's memes all over the internet. Girl, don't move to Atlanta, right? Your soulmate in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Don't just fix your life. Don't just move to Atlanta. And it's been this consistent joke, right? Texas and Atlanta, honestly, if you go on Instagram, if you go on YouTube right now, you look up people relocating. It's a lot of young black women, a lot of black people going, I'm moving to Atlanta. I'm moving to Houston, Texas. I'm gone. And what you have to understand is you get a whole nother series of backlash videos that go, they don't want to pay no money. First thing you go is, well, what's wrong? Well, man, I was making like $20 an hour, $25 an hour in New York, and I'm making $12 an hour in Atlanta. Now, first things first, they ain't paying nurses $12 an hour in Atlanta.
Yeah.
They're not paying doctors $12 an hour in Atlanta. They're not paying oncologists, radiologists. They're not paying engineers. They're not paying all these people these poor wages in the South, because that's just not true. We all know that's not true. What you're hearing from is the unskilled masses who've moved to Atlanta, and yeah, they were receptionists in New York, but now being a receptionist in Atlanta is what? Teenagers can do that.
Yeah.
It's unskilled. Now, this isn't just an Atlanta problem. This is also a Denver, Colorado problem. A lot of Denver, Colorado folks moved from California. A lot of those folks moved into Utah. A lot of them moved into Arizona. But what you have is this bulk of people who are like, I cannot afford to live in this more expensive city. I must relocate. But they're coming with just their hand, their extra kids, and themselves. Yep, you were saying this is very true. Same thing about Nashville. When I talk about I see $1 million townhouses in Nashville, and people go, are there black people in Nashville? I go, yes, it was 30% black people at one point. Now I don't know what the numbers are. And they have a historically black college in their city. But the key here is when people relocate, what are they coming with? Yes, this city has jobs, but what type of jobs? But I'll let you go ahead. I don't want to.
No, you're right. I mean, you're 100%.
Like,
You're 100% correct. A lot of people, and the perception is, especially in the Southeast, is that I'm from a smaller town. I'm going to move to a bigger city. Well, why really? Because I think there's more going on there, and I think there's more opportunity. But like you said, is that if you're an unskilled person, essentially it's going to be the same amount of opportunity no matter where you go, because you still got to accept the fact that you're an unskilled person, and there's a lot of people that can do the particular job that you may be looking for. So a lot of people show up in Atlanta and they do not have a plan. So they, one, don't have a job. Two, they don't have a plan. And they get there and they realize that the labor market isn't necessarily what they thought it was going to be. The cost of living keeps going up. You don't have really, really good mass transportation. You may be living on the north side and you may be able to find a job on the south side. You got to try to figure out how you're going to get down there. And then it starts to become very hard to live in this particular environment. Atlanta is very sprawled out. Nothing is close. You got to drive to get where you want to go. You got to take the highway to pretty much get around the way you want to go. And so a lot of people that have come from a lot of smaller areas of the Southeast, they feel like, things aren't going the way I wanted to go. For my people that are living up north, they already know how it is. A lot of people that live in New York, they know that you sometimes got to work multiple jobs just to survive in these particular type of environments. They thought Atlanta was going to be easier for them because they feel like the cost of living was going to be lower. But if you're still an unskilled person, you don't come down with a skill set that's in demand, then you got to take less money. So even though you have a lower cost of living, it's really not comparable. It's not like it's a come up. And so that's what a lot of people don't really understand, is that not having a skill set that is in demand in a particular area where you're a tech, or maybe you got a skilled trade, or maybe you could do some type of entrepreneurship that's in demand, it's going to hurt you. And Ray Gun 30, 100% correct. Atlanta will eat you up without a plan. I've been telling people that a long time. It will just eat you up. There's so much going on down there. If you can't figure out how to get in that area and start being productive, Atlanta just roll over you.
So here's, and part of my argument with people I try to say is, you have people from New York who moved to Atlanta 20 years ago, and you ask them, okay, hey, the price is going up. I'd be like, oh, where you bought your house? They ain't bought no house.
Yeah.
They moved over 20 years ago to a city after they just experienced having to get out of another city because of cost of living, and they didn't learn anything. They didn't learn anything. They didn't purchase anything. I wouldn't buy that for that price now. And a lot of times you think it's people who lived there their whole life. No, sometimes it's people who relocate there and go, well, one day I might move back. I might go back to New York. I might go back. So just, I'm trying to be loose and free. And it's like, they never put any roots down. They never really invest themselves. And it gets dangerous, because what we have now is we have the children. And I know people get mad at me because they say, oh, you're blaming New York and New Jersey. It's not us, but it is. We have these children who are here. Parents are frustrated. They don't have a lot of job opportunities. They got these kids outside selling water. You know, people say, "Oh no, the kids want to do it." No, they don't. These kids don't want to be outside in 100-degree weather selling water. This isn't a choice. Now, the city wants to invest $70 million, and this is just the city. This isn't even the government. I don't know if you guys noticed today. The notice came out that they're going to hold a special session with Georgia's Congress to even locate more money.
Yeah.
Now, if you know anything about Georgia, and I'm just going to go there, it's one of them southern states where Atlanta is wonderful. It's modern. It's new. It's enjoyable. You go outside of some parts of Georgia and you like, what is happening? And why is this cop following me through the whole town?
Yeah.
As I go over to Georgia, Florida line. What's happening? You have some backward ways out there, right? So if they're going to recruit this money to bring more police, double down on police, double down on traffic stops, double down on basically pat downs, New York, stop frisk, what happens to that city? Massive incarceration. Incarceration's been down. Black teen pregnancy has been down, all-time lows. Black teen graduation, high school graduation is up. So the narrative that, oh man, these black people, they just out of control, that's been over for the past 10 years.
Yep.
Right now, recently, the past 5 years, white women going to federal prison has been up 50%. Past 5 years. Why? Drugs. Poor people crimes. Trafficking pills from Florida to middle nowheres. Getting caught up. So you know that is there, right? You know that potential if you start doubly policing these people for, hey, you didn't have your license plate updated. Hey, your driver's license isn't updated. Hey, you had this citation, you didn't pay it. Hey, you had this parking ticket, didn't pay it. What is that going to do for that city?
Yeah, I mean, and what you're seeing is that for a lot of people that are in Atlanta that are living like what I call on the fringes, they're going to get policed really, really heavily. And a lot of the things that people were getting away with, they're not going to get away with anymore. And, you know, we were talking about before that we believe that they're going to roll out another mass incarceration blitz. And I think that this is something that you're going to see all over the country, to where anytime they want to really, really start sweeping the area, they start doing a lot of gentrification. What you're also going to see with Atlanta is a lot of federal cases, a lot of state RICO cases are going to start coming out for particular areas. So I used to be in an area in Atlanta called Summer Hill that was kind of close to the old Braves Stadium. You know, they want to clean out these type of areas that are close to downtown, that they can utilize, that are really, really can be very profitable areas from a real estate and a land development problem. And so what we're seeing, and I tell people this all the time, is that when you live in a particular area and you don't have a lot of power, and you're allowed to live there, is because the people in power don't see that your area is desirable. Once they believe that your area is desirable, they're going to use their power to get you out of that particular area. And so what we're doing is, and this is something that Mixed Hand is talking about, is going to era in a new era of a lot of really heavy, to me, overarching or kind of, I would say, overdone policing. But they're going to utilize that just to get their numbers up, to get people off the street that they feel are not productive and are not contributing. So we can clear a lot of areas out, so we can now usher in this new change of bringing in people that can actually pay us what we want for this property.
For sure. And one of my biggest things I tell people, I'm like, if Atlanta just invested in a regional, or it's the state of Georgia, invested in a regional mental health hospital, and swept the streets, let's just go there, swept the streets of the homeless that are endangering themselves and others, you see an overnight change. I mean, you'd have create jobs, you create opportunities, all kind of stuff out of that. But they're not interested in that, right? They're interested in the lock 'em up theory. So my biggest thing about Atlanta is, I'm trying to be careful. If you're advocating for tech to come to your city, you're advocating for people to leave where? New York, leave northern states, leave California to come fill those jobs, when those jobs could be filled with the people that are already there.
Yeah.
The pivot should be, how do we get more young black men in tech? How do we get more black women in tech? We shouldn't have, and unfortunately, there's a whole show I just saw the other day. Someone showed it to me, where they're like talking about strippers in Atlanta, like we're the number 2 stripper state, and and it's like, you shouldn't even be doing a show on that. There shouldn't be a show going, look at us, we have made it, we are number 1 for stripping places. And it's like, as much as you want to promote Atlanta on the up and up, you know, you have the what's his name, Cam Newton Smoke Cigar Place, you have these high-end restaurants, you have these really nice places. It's almost this love and attraction for that T.I., Shorty Low, and all them people, that old Atlanta, that freaknik Atlanta that is no longer there. It's just no longer there.
Yeah, definitely. And what it was that you really had, and this is something I try to get people to understand, is that when you go to Atlanta, a lot of the quote unquote Atlanta celebrities, they never lived inside the city because it was too expensive. So if you wanted to actually live inside the perimeter, but live in a really nice area, it was really, really expensive. So they were really living way out of the perimeter, out in the suburbs. And so even though they was quote unquote the face of Atlanta, they didn't even really live in Atlanta because it was really so expensive to actually live inside the city. What they're trying to do now is kind of expand that. So what they want is more areas actually inside the perimeter that are going to be acceptable places to live, where historically those places was lower income areas. They're just going to get those people out of those particular areas. And you're right, they could develop the people that are there, but when those particular people don't have the political power, they don't have the economic power, they get left out of that particular development issue because it's going to take money to develop them. They get left out of the conversation. And so we would rather put money into policing to incarcerate them as opposed to trying to develop them and utilize them because we already have the talent pool. We would rather bring people in from up north or maybe the West Coast or maybe even sometimes overseas.
And I was going to show y'all this map because I know y'all be like, where are you getting this data from? I always get the data from the I know how it can be. Okay, so here we go. Here's the map that I was talking about right here. And so not even trying to be funny, because people are like, oh, Erica, how can it be profitable to lock up people? It actually is quite profitable. Right now, there are no, what do you call them, payphones on the corners anymore, because we have all our cell phones, right? Payphones in prisons make on average like $100,000 to $300,000 a year. One payphone, because they're getting that money from where? The family that wants to speak to their loved one.
Exactly.
Well, now the prisons in North Carolina, because of the pandemic, are doing a laptop like Zoom call thing, and they're going to charge you 3 cents a minute. Eventually, that thing's going to go up to $1 a minute. I know it's coming. And you have a combination of factors. You have cheap labor. Lots of these companies are utilizing prison labor. Wouldn't hire these people outside. Then you also have them milking poor families for phones and services and gift bags and all that good stuff. And then when they come out, you have a probation system that does the same thing, right? People paying restitution for crimes. Now, why am I calling things poor man crimes? Now, what do I call poor man crimes? On average, just to give y'all, not to be too negative, but on average, a murderer gets 6 to 10 years. That's it. You murder somebody on average, that's the national average, 6 to 10 years. If you murder your wife in anger, on average, it's 5 years. It's not even, you don't even do 10 years. A woman on the reverse, though, she murders her husband, on average gets about 18 years. When you talk about drugs, you talk about robberies, you talk about crimes, breaking into vehicles, breaking into homes, bank robberies, it's an automatic 15 to 20. And so I call them poor man crimes because you usually swipe up someone who's in their youth, 15 to 25, and then you put them away for 20 years and they come out in their 40s with what skills? What opportunities? And so my thing is, I really am also like, stop glorifying this because it gets amazingly silly to me, right? And we're also in a kind of area where, do you know where Vine City is? I know you do, but do you know where Vine City is?
Where's that at?
It's on the other side of that Georgia University. That's downtown. It's like you have Midtown and you go across a little bit. They just built up a thing called the interlock. Let me see if I can pull that up. But Vine City, anybody in chat know what they're talking about? Vine City, put it in the chat because it looks like woo. It's basically over there by that stadium. And so and this is the nice pictures probably they're going to show you. Here it is. There we go. Everybody see the Vine City? See, there's the line, North Side Drive, Northwest.
I know that's there.
Yeah, Clark Atlanta University, other side of it. Yeah. So you got the Rodney Cook Senior Park, Historic Park. So in that little square, Mercedes-Benz, is to the right or whatever. In that little square, this area is the next to be completely cleared out. It has nowhere to go. Like I see some neighbors, some spots here and there where they're cleaning stuff out, but they literally will have to do a massive clean out of this area. If anybody knows what I'm talking about. Another area is the interlock. If you go look up the Belly Yard where they built this hotel, they just built. So here. All right, so they built that here where you see this dot. And this whole area from here, the Chick-fil-A, the 6 Feet Under, the Northside Tavern, all this, it got cleared out. There's brand new apartments everywhere. Ethel Street, let me see if I pull it up some more, to 11th Street, like all this stuff. Slim and Hussy's Pizza, the 10th Street to here. And basically, if you go and check it out, they've built completely brand new apartments. And when I called to check on the pricing, because I said, well, let me just check on the pricing. It's not in anybody's affordable price rate. It's not it's for the tech person. Like, I'll give you a prime example. We called one unit and they said, oh yeah, we got these for $2,300. Great price. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, how much is your 2-bedroom? It's about $298, $2,900. It's a really good price. Now, if we know the average person in America makes $30,000 a year, that's not for them, correct?
Yeah.
That's not for them. Even if you go, hey, a tech man, let's say we go up to 75 to 100,000, he's going to squeak in to get there, or he's going to have a roommate, or he's going to have a significant other to be in those units, in those spaces. So I just want you to understand. And also, this hotel, I did stay at it. It's a $500 hold on your card when you go. So they want to make sure, leave no doubt that you are not going to come up in here acting up and cutting up. And so this is something I wanted to bring up to people, that you guys see the play happening, and you keep seeing the play happen. Thank you. Here you go. She said, I live in Atlanta. MLK used to live in Vine City when he passed away. Vine City average home price was $13,000, 2005 to 2009.
Because of that area. Yeah, I believe that.
Now the average price of home in Vine City is $260K and rising.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I knew it was getting serious, and people was telling me, Paul Brown 100% correct. When people was telling me that they were gentrifying the West End. And when I went into the West End, when I first just kind of rolled through there, because I had never been there, it kind of reminded me of like Chicago, maybe South Central, because the West End to me was the only part of Atlanta that looked very urban. Another area that I would tell people to start looking into, and I saw this, I was looking at some properties the other night, I would look into maybe the Pittsburgh area, and definitely look into the Bluff. Now, the Bluff is really still depressed, but it's really, really close to downtown. It's close to the highway. And, start looking at areas in Atlanta to where you can get in at a really, really low price, maybe maintain it, maybe try to cash flow it as they start moving west, because I really think they're going to move all the way to the west side. Because like I said, they're going to surround that whole Beltway area.
Oh, for sure. Like, again, y'all, I bring this up. Look at the Florida, the green dots of Florida. Y'all are gaining people left and right.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So my point in all this is, why are we talking about Atlanta? Because Atlanta is going to be the template that they're going to use for every other place. I want you to understand. People are this is what they're going to do in about 3 years. When the next mayor's in, because Keisha Bottom's not running again. She just throwing her stuff out on the way on the door out. What they're going to say is, see how well we cleaned up Atlanta? See how well we cleaned this place up? It's so great. And guess what? Other cities and states are going to go, that's exactly what we need. We got to double down on the police. Because they talk so much about defund the police, and they never really defund them. I don't know if y'all noticed that. Nobody got defunded. It was basically just a slogan cry. And if you see the Asian crime hate bill, that's just another door opening for crime bills. I remember seeing in Atlanta, and this is how I hate it, but I got to go there. Atlanta has such a bad connotation for being scamming. They arrested a ring of, I think it was 48 Vietnamese. If I can find the newspaper article, I'll post it again. But they arrested like 48 Vietnamese. They all were business owners, but they caught them on wire, bank, fraud, all kind of stuff, human trafficking, all this stuff. And it was like it was in the news really hard for a month, and then it disappeared. Yeah. And I said, now, the face of Atlanta that you call the scammers, the bad people doing this, is some black guy running around the parking lot stealing cars. But really, you have this whole 48 people deep and living in huge, big houses in Sandy Springs. Run around doing crime. And so the city has some work to do, especially after you just saw the Parlor shooting. Yeah, that to me was like, if that's not a sign, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, but what was unfortunate, because what you saw, and especially on the bottoms, is that we saw violent crime get really bad. So even when I first moved to Atlanta around, I want to say 2011, 2012, we had a lot of kids over there in East Atlanta, back when they were still wearing like the skinny jeans with the designer belts. And they was just slamming each other. Yeah, when they were slamming each other. When I say slamming each other, what I mean is they was like shooting each other. So that was the thing. They were literally playing gun tag out in East Atlanta, kind of close to DeKalb County. But what we saw was that we started seeing a lot of young people robbing older people, but especially like women at gas stations. And that kind of became the thing. And one thing I noticed as I rode around Atlanta is that, you know, unfortunately, and people don't want this to sound negative, is that there aren't any more real hustles anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't figure out how to kind of scam on the computer, there's really nothing to do except kind of get involved in like a lot of lower level street crime.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you create a justification to get rid of all those people because you haven't developed them. And so you keep hearing these stories of young people in Atlanta being involved in a lot of lower level violent street crime. And it's because of a lot of breakdown in their particular family, but also nobody really wants to spend the money to try to develop these people. It's more profitable to just lock them up and keep it moving and to get them out of there so you can bring in some people that can, you know, be a lot more productive to you from a financial standpoint.
For sure. And something I want y'all to understand that it's a playbook, right? It's a playbook because, you know, if you ask people, well, what do you want us to do about Atlanta? Well, you know, we got to get the more police. Okay, what else are you want us to do about Atlanta? Because then once we get the police and we lock a lot of these kids up, we still will have the single mom with 3 kids who needs a better job. We'll still have housing issues. We'll still have problems. And we'll still have clubs open to 4 in the morning. Because we were out there and I was like, isn't it 3 in the morning? When they gonna close? I'm tired. I want to go home. I was in there like, it's time to go. But you'll still have those issues, right? Again, yes. I've told people this. I'm like, I've talked to people in Chicago. I talked about Inglewood. I talked about all these places. There is nowhere for the money to go.
Yeah.
So it's going to go there.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's running out of places affordably to go.
Yeah, definitely. I used to meet with this guy in Atlanta, in East Point College Park, off a street called Main Street, right by the MARTA station. And right before I left, what we saw was that there were, you know, white people living out there because they had an apartment that were kind of like loft apartments right close to the MARTA station. And what we're seeing is that a lot of these kind of younger, kind of urban white people, they want to live close to centers of transportation. And so that's what they're looking for. So we're starting to see them develop that area. And we know East Point College Park historically was like a working class black area. They're moving out there. So that's what people got to really understand, is that these areas now are very, very desirable. And if you can get in and sit in it, or maybe try to figure out how to cash flow on some level, they're going to come for these particular areas. Because like I said, with Atlanta, is that downtown area was abandoned by everybody. Everybody moved out to the suburbs where it was real nice. So it was just a lot of crime and a lot of low income stuff going on in downtown Atlanta. They want all that back now. And so now you're going to have really attractive real estate because you got an area where, you know, you can take an Uber or walk to where you need to go because you're right on top of downtown where everything else is at anyway.
I tell people soccer stadiums are your prime example, right? Gentrify, right? Prime example in Austin, Texas, where our roommate, my former roommate, we lived in a house. She bought it for $280. A year and a half later, she sold it for $400,000. Right behind her, because it was and you guys can look this up for yourself. Rungburg, Austin, Texas. Rungburg Road. It's always been dangerous. So black people shooting up, doing all the stuff, right? It's always been the dangerous spot. Well, now they built a giant, brand new soccer stadium where the average ticket is $100. The beer is $20. You know, you're coming in. It's for a particular type of person, right? The domain is built right across the street. The same is happening right now in Raleigh, North Carolina. The southeast part used to be poor and black. They're clearing that out. They're buying up a bunch of empty buildings. They've been buying them up for about 20 years now and putting stadiums there. Now, you may even go to Nashville and see this. Why are you seeing this? Because a lot of these areas used to have what? Warehouses. Yeah. Same thing in Durham, North Carolina. You used to have a bunch of warehouses where men worked. Well, when the factories left, you have these big buildings just left and empty. And they're converting them to breweries, the loft style apartments, all kind of stuff. And so this is just a repeat. Ray Gunn said Diamond Dave did a great video last month. Were you talking about Atlanta?
Yeah, probably talking about them incarcerating people as a result of trying to get rid of that surplus labor, and you know, them sending you to jail as opposed to trying to figure out how to upskill you. So you need to try to figure out how to upskill yourself, because they're going to do this all over the country, because this is a cycle. It's really an economic cycle that they do. So if you look at a city like Atlanta, they've been planting the seeds for this a long time ago, and we're kind of now starting to see it come to fruition. But while it's going on, nobody's talking about it. And just what you were referring to, a lot of these buildings that are in your city that are pretty much abandoned, the city will sell them to you for a really, really attractive price, because they're not making any money off the building anyway. So if you can get a group together and try to look at trying to acquire some of these properties, you can get them for a relatively inexpensive price compared to maybe what they're going to be worth 10 to 15 years from now, because the city, if they own the building, they're not getting anything from it anyway. And what the city really wants is you to improve that particular property so they can get more money off it from a property tax standpoint.
And so I was talking to somebody, and I'm going to share the article where it says about Buckhead. So it's not just Buckhead. If you guys actually go research Atlanta, they have a thing called city hoods. And I did a video on this in the past. And essentially, what happens is, prime example, there was one city that they voted all these young black people into the city council. Everybody's all excited. Yes.
Yeah, I saw
And then
that.
the business side of town said, you know what? We're going to vote to separate ourselves from y'all. And we're
Yeah.
going to become our own city. And they petitioned and they won. So yeah, you got that city over there, this little bit of part that has just a bunch of poor people in projects and not a lot of income, and then you have this other city over here that just has business parks.
Yeah.
It's what's happening. So yeah, you may vote, and this is why I keep telling people. I posted something about Kamala. I posted something about this on my Instagram, and my DMs were full of people like, "This is why we gotta vote, Erica. This is why we gotta vote." I said, "It's not, honey. You can do that. Atlanta's already done that, and guess what they'll do? Hey, guess what? Congratulations on all those city council positions. We are now voting to separate from y'all.
Yeah.
Have a great life, and we got the money and the backing to do it. Point blank. Period. I was going to run for something in Texas, near Georgetown, and they wanted me to run for city council. And I said, "Well, I got no money to do that." "Oh, no worry, we'll back you
Yeah.
if you'll run against this other Hispanic
Exactly.
Democrat." So trust me, the money comes for the people they want to put up there.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell y'all, I'm getting off this man's internet because I got other stuff I could be doing. I ain't playing with y'all all year. I'm not playing with y'all. But yes, he said, and you can see the article here, but there's multiple of them. Because of the crime wave, this is one of the reasons the residents want to break away from Atlanta. But they said this split would be devastating for the city. Because, well, guess what? Voting matters, yes. I'm not going to knock voting. But I want you to understand, the money is what matters.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. He's right. If Buckhead becomes a city. Now that if Buckhead wants to, like if it gets bad enough, they will. But the question is, Buckhead want to do all like the administrative stuff that comes along with being their own city. That's the question they got to ask themselves. But he's right. And if they lose that tax base, it's going to get crazy. But that may be what they want to do anyway. They may want to lose that tax base, let the prices skyrocket, get everybody out that can't afford it, and then bring Buckhead back in at a later date. Yeah.
Lenox Mall. So I kept hearing about how dangerous Lenox Mall was. Yeah. And I was like, hey, asked one of the people in Atlanta to drive me by there. I was like, what's the problem here? And she said, well, people come to see celebrities because they park their car. This front part, Lambos, all this fancy stuff. And I said, well, what's the problem? They said, oh, they be shooting.
Yep.
Why? You know what I mean? It's like, of all places, why? Right? So again, Dave Sincere, I keep telling people, you got a lot of people bringing their, and I'm going to just say this, and there was a beautiful young lady I met. She came from Chicago, and she had 4 children. And she said she looked down and realized she had a 12-year-old son and said, I have to get out of here. I have to leave the city. I cannot. I just know the numbers, right? 50% of black men in Chicago are unemployed. Yep. On top of that, you have a lot of people into the system. So she moved to Atlanta. And I told her, well, are you scared now? She said, no, because he went through sports. He's playing on a team. He actually has a future. His older sister graduated. She's becoming a nurse. Like, this was the best thing I could have done. I don't like the city. I loved Chicago, but I knew there was no future. Yeah. And so you got to realize people are taking, and I'm going to just be nice, I think she's a great woman. I think her kids are great. I know them a little bit. But I bet there's a lot of women who moved and their son and daughter wasn't so great. So when people say, oh, okay, it must be Atlanta folks doing all this breaking in, I said, it just can't be.
No, it's not. I mean, and the issue is what that you were talking about earlier, is that when you move down from wherever you're moving from and you don't have a really strong support system, and then you aren't skilled and you don't really have the ability to really watch over your children, there's a lot of things they can get caught into. Because Atlanta, if you're from like Chicago or Philly or New York, it's a small city, but it's still a big city. There's a lot going on there. And that's one of the issues I think that a lot of parents that are coming from bigger cities don't really realize, is that even though Atlanta might be a smaller city population-wise, it still has a lot of the big city issues that you can get caught up into because of what's really going on in the city, the amount of money that's going on in the city. And historically, Atlanta was always off the ground. And I think that was a misconception that a lot of people didn't have till they really got here, that Atlanta is very much where I'm from, we call it off the ground. So if you go there, it can be easy to get caught up into a lot of stuff.
And what is a lot of stuff?
I mean, first, drugs. Atlanta's a major drug hub. We got what we would call sex trafficking. Atlanta's one of the capitals of sex trafficking, not just for the United States, but for the whole world. You got this whole sex industry that's attached to Atlanta that you can get caught into, that a lot of people fall into because they don't have anything going on. Then you got all the quote unquote scamming that's going on. It's a lot to get into, and you can fall into it just because let me give an example. I knew a lot of people in Atlanta. Atlanta's a big perk city. What I mean by perk is a lot of people in Atlanta take Percocets. It's like the thing to do. There were people that I knew out in Atlanta that where if you didn't want to take Percocets with them, they just wouldn't hang out with you. It was very similar to like people that only want to hang around people that drink.
Yes.
So you got a city to where you got normal people that work 9-to-5 jobs that are addicted to taking Percocets. Like this is something going on to where this type of stuff is very casual in a city. Well, where I'm from, that's not the thing to do, is the pop Percocets. That's more of, something people drink and stuff like that. And the Percocets that they're popping are not coming through a legitimate pathway. This is part of a legal crime. So Atlanta's a lot going on there. And if you can't really stay on the straight and narrow, you will get caught up.
Yeah. And I just want people to understand that I'm doing this video because I not that I just feel it. I know this is a repeat pattern. This happened in DC. This happened in other cities. This is a wash, rinse, and repeat. And I'm not saying thank God for the pandemic, but I'm saying you better be thanking God for the pandemic that we holding back the probably about 10 million people that's gonna come from India. Because via the person, 500,000 getting their HB1 visas, and then the 12 people in your family, up to a limit of 12 people in the family you can bring, you're talking about millions of people coming. And then you're talking about we already caught 1 million people come up through the border since January. Like, if you want to play in America with no skills, I really am like fearful for you, because there ain't nothing I can tell you. Like, there ain't nothing I can tell you, because if you haven't heeded the warning or seen how this country's shifting and these people are moving to the South, you literally have people go, yeah, I got my aunt and uncle house, but I ain't nobody living in it. There's even a young man I reached out and talked to on Facebook, because his girlfriend, who has 2 kids, and she's 35, oh, I inherited the house from my grandma, but I ain't checked on it in 3 years. I said, well, where is it at? It's about Atlanta, basically Vine City.
Yeah.
And they said, well, girl, they're going to take that house from me. Oh, no, my parents pay the taxes, but my grandma left it to me. And so you already got somebody whose grandma thought, well, let me leave this to this young lady because she's got these kids and she's not even looking after the property or care for it. Her parents are paying the taxes. And this is a grown woman. That's a mindset issue.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's waiting for the prices to get sky high where she's going to get bought out or something, but you got to at least be paying the taxes.
Yeah, definitely. You got to be a good steward of that property. And you see a lot of that in Atlanta. You see a lot of people that have been left homes, they inherited homes, and they just really allowing it to go down. Somebody may be paying the taxes on it, but they're not really getting the best that they can get out of the property because they just pretty much discarded it. And the issue is that they could be doing something to kind of develop these areas, and they're not. And most of them are going to get bought out. I know a guy, his father owned a business off Campbellton Road. He owned a business, but it was on a big lot. This was probably 2019. He had already been offered like $4 million for the property. I told him, if y'all hold that property, probably in the next decade, they'll probably make y'all double-digit millionaires because they're moving to the west side. And so they're really looking at these particular areas. Like I said before, I think the Bluff is a good area to start looking at. That's not investment advice, is because nobody really wants to be there, but eventually everybody's going to want to live there because of its proximity to Georgia Tech. Talking about the Asians, if you go to Georgia Tech, if you go to some of the apartments around that school, you got Indians, East Indians, living 4-2 apartment. They sleeping on floors so they can get their education. And there's a big Indian population in Atlanta, and a lot of them are not going to leave Atlanta. They're going to get roots down there. And because of their Georgia Tech education, they're going to be able to pay what Atlanta's charging. And they're going to start pushing people out of the city.
I mean, listen, the boring stuff nobody wants to hear about. You're buying convenience stores, taking care of old properties, stuff like that. Nobody really wants to hear that part because it's not sexy. It's not that I'm flipping houses. I'm doing all this stuff with cars. But what's going to happen is y'all going to see later this year, and I'm going to document a lot of my journey. The boring stuff is what paid. Through all this pandemic and all this stuff, the boring stuff is what consistently paid. So I don't know who that is, but if he was an old mayor, he's running for mayor again, is what y'all saying? Yeah,
okay. Let's see if he gets. Yeah, that's the old mayor.
Gotta get the money
before Bottoms. Yeah, so let's see if he goes back in. I thought he was probably gonna run for Senate or run for governor, but he kind of got out of mayor position and sat back. Now he's the guy that allowed Tyler Perry to get all that property for the low.
Okay, well Tyler Perry ought to give him a help out. Give me some come back around. Francine, I made a video about this and I held off and didn't publish it yet, but that whole safari thing, even if some folks get married, you have a generation of people who are immature. And what's going to happen is nobody sacrifices or cares about the children, because somebody has to be watching the children. We have a whole industry built on, we got to make sure kids eat. They got to go to after school programs. We got to, like, even now as we're talking about Atlanta, my biggest thought process is, okay, a lot of these little kids that's on the corner, that's somebody's 13-year-old, 14-year-old nephew that we could do something better with, is going to get caught up on this.
Yeah, definitely. They will.
Prime example, I have a friend who, she invests in, I think she has like 10 multi-family real estate properties. They're like duplexes. They're not like apartments. And her sister, because she's got 8 siblings, her sister, 13 nephew, stole something at the mall. They said, we got him down here, but we ain't gonna hold him. Just come over here and pay the $250 fine, and we'll go ahead and give him to you. They sister didn't have the money. They had to call the sister with the multifamily property to send $250.
Yeah.
And she said, "Are you kidding me? How long you been down there? He been down there 6 hours right now. Can you watch you some money?" Even the cop was like, "Well, honey, we would have gave you a what do you call it? Appear in court? I forgot the word. But literally $250. That's what you're gonna see. You're gonna see massive young men getting caught up for small stuff. Even that boy that got locked up in New York was in jail for 3 years. It was over a backpack.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you saying over the course of 3 years, his family couldn't come up with some type of money?
Yeah, that's terrible. His family couldn't come and get that dude out of prison all that time. But
3 years?
that's one, like you talked about. It's a disregard for the child and a lack of economics. But you have people that, and you see this in Atlanta. If you drive through certain areas, and this is why I tell people all the time, is that I drive through areas just to see what's going on, and all I see is kids in the street.
Yeah.
It's no hustles out here anymore. It's just kids in the street, and they don't know what to do, and so they just start doing stupid stuff because it's just a bunch of kids, and especially a bunch of young males, and they just running around the street with no kind of supervision because nobody has decided to invest in them. In reality, their parents probably should have never had children. But we can't have that conversation without it seen in derogatory. But the issue is that when you have these children and nobody invests in them and raise them, the community has to figure out how to deal with it.
The burden gets spread around.
Exactly. And what people with money do is they leave. They move themselves away from the problem. The people that don't have money have to deal with the problem. And then with the people with money decide, okay, we're not going to deal with this problem, but we're just going to incarcerate y'all. And then what we'll do is we'll start this cycle all over again by 20 years. So once they get rid of all these people in Atlanta will probably have a good 20, 25-year run before they start this cycle all over again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Downtown Durham is a classic. Anywhere within 3 miles of downtown is being redeveloped. It looked more and more like Charlotte. And the funny part is, you talked to somebody about Durham. Before I left, I think maybe 2009, 2010, you could get a duplex in Durham for like $25K. Okay. I'm talking about both sides. And people are like, oh, it's so dangerous. It's so bad. I remember coming home visiting, and my friend, my white friend, howdy doody, how you doing, buddy? Had a house in Durham, North Carolina. I said, what? I drove up to go see him, and I said, oh Lord, it's gone. Y'all out of here. It's a wrap when Howdy Doody get over here. He's a great guy. Just him and his dog just over there chilling in the neighborhood. I said, this is when you know gentrification is pop.
Yep.
You out of here. So yeah, but downtown Durham used to be Black Wall Street before they cut the road in between it. So yeah, I mean it had a lot of black businesses gone. Yes, Tyler Perry. Yes, and I think, and that's North Carolina's fault because we got rid of our incentive, and Georgia said no problem, we'll pick it up. And now you got Tyler Perry, and it's just North Carolina could never get it back. Stop it, Adrian.
Yeah.
Spirit of tricking. Now, it says, and low-income folks will get thrown into cheap housing. It will get tore up after 20, 30 years. The cycle will repeat itself.
Yep. And what they did in Atlanta back in the 90s when they got rid of their projects, they gave all those people Section 8 vouchers, and they moved down to like Riverdale, also to Jonesboro. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the issue. And that's why you go to Riverdale and Jonesboro. It's so sketchy down there because everybody that was living in the projects in Atlanta, they moved down there and they just kept that stuff going. Yep.
So this person said, I've seen a lot of gentrification happening in working class areas. Gwinnett. Y'all keep saying Gwinnett. I don't know where it is, but I believe
I know Gwinnett is. Yeah, I used to work out in Gwinnett. Yeah, I know what that's
North Cross. It's insane. They created an entire cottage village with homes selling for $380. Now I'm gonna tell you this story from Atlanta. I remember, I'm trying to think who was all with me when it happened. This is right after the crash, 2009. This guy was building a whole row of townhouses, brand new, and they were selling them for $50K a pop. I went back and looked those places up. I think they selling now for $400,000.
Yeah.
Even though they older, all these years later.
Yep.
And so I just thought the builder ran out of money, and the bank was like, "Yo, we liquidating him out. You get a brand new one for 50K, first come first serve." And I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna move to Atlanta." Everybody's like, "Don't move down there, don't move down there, girl." And so at the end of the day, there were opportunities in the last crash.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I seen when I was there, and I was talking to a lady on my page. I was talking about how making $100,000 is not really a lot of money in Atlanta. I saw townhomes off Atlanta Avenue, north of 285. Most of them, this is probably 2017, 2018, was going for $500,000. If people that are watching this know what a Ponce City Market is, there was townhomes over there by the Ponce City Market, really, really tight row townhomes, going for $800,000 all day. They was getting it. And so what you're seeing is that the property values actually inside the perimeter, or right outside the perimeter, is so high, but they're actually able to drive the sales of those properties. So they just keep moving the price up. And so the demand on that is so crazy, is just then it shifts out to the outlying areas. So you got to go all the way almost out to Cartersville now to get anything at a decent price.
They said they're doing this in Augusta too. Now here's what really hit me, Dave. When I did a video a couple years ago where people really be like, "Oh yeah, we Black Power Atlanta," and it showed that a white supremacist group owned 20 houses in this one area.
Yeah.
And even the news went out there and talked to the people in the house, and they're like, "Oh, that's a shame. That's so sad." It was older Black people. I want to go, baby. You should be like, "How can I pack my bags and leave?"
Yeah.
Because I can't sleep at night knowing every time I pay my 800, 900, $1,000, it's going to this guy.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing. Y'all hit the like button. Thank you. There's over 360 people here. Yeah, we got to get some new skills. We got to get some new skills. And for $70 million, I feel like Keisha Bottoms could pick a combination of stuff that would have been not as negative as her saying, "We're going to get a bunch of cameras to scan y'all license plates. We're going to get a bunch of police on the road, and that's what we're going to do."
Yeah, but see, they got to justify those prices they're getting ready to roll out, because so what they do is they let it get real bad. They let everybody leave that don't want to deal with it, and now they got to start justifying those prices. And I feel bad for the people that are renting inside some of these areas, because they're going to jack their rent up sky high.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It is a large Indian and Korean population out there. And Charlotte,
definitely.
North Carolina will get a lot of it. We got a lot of people from Atlanta who moved to Charlotte. Like, yeah, Atlanta was getting too expensive. You're like, don't come to Charlotte with that. Somebody in the chat said we need more affordable housing. That's just it. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. Like, our society is capped on affordable housing. It's like, at this point, the future belongs to folks who either, one, get the skills. If you don't have the skills and you're low income, you will have to move out into the middle of the country.
Yeah.
That just will be your choice.
Yeah. And see, the issue with you moving out in the middle of the country is that anything can happen and nobody's going to know about it. So when they start building these low-income housing complexes in the middle of nowhere, like let's say they put them, a few minutes outside of Atlanta, let's say 30, 45 minutes, and they all concentrate y'all out there, anything happens out there, nobody's going to know about it, because you're going to be so isolated from everybody else. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. That's what they're doing. Yeah,
they just did a training with the Homeland Security on how to quarantine large numbers of rural residents that are unvaccinated. Now, I said, I don't know why you need to do that, because we're going to stay in our house in the country, and you just stay over there, I stay over here. But they are training for that. So I think it's happening. T.I. mentioned.
Yeah, he need to buy the Bluff. I mean, the Bluff is where it's, it's like I say, you right by Antioch, you right by Georgia Tech, you right by another place, and you right close to the downtown. Yeah, Gwinnett is off. Yeah, Gwinnett off the chain.
Reed is still running. Oh Lord, that's terrible.
Okay, let's see how that work out for them. Yeah, them politicians in Atlanta, man, they stay on some kind of issue.
Same thing with Baltimore.
I feel you.
Yes, Qualeaf Browler. I'm sorry, not that I didn't know the boy name, but I was just trying to.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. He stayed locked up.
It
all
really
that time.
was. There's no reason for that.
And couldn't nobody come down there and get that dude.
3 years, your mama couldn't find nothing, like no car, no nothing. In the bond to me was so small. It just didn't make no sense. Yep. Y'all got some crazy comments. I'm trying to I'm trying to be careful. You can't be telling these young ladies on their 5th kid and 5th baby daddy you shouldn't be having no kids.
But it's not even the 5th. Some of it is
just
really it's the first. If you just don't have the money to support it, it's really the first. Because like I said, is that no disrespect to the people that are having it, but when you allow these children to just run around like crazy, everybody has to try to figure out how to deal with it. And everybody's not going to be as understanding as I might be or Erica might be. Some of these people are just not going to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So just like NY has bureaus, here in Atlanta they have counties. Yeah, that's essentially the equivalent, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
And
Except,
I know I saw some of y'all super chats. I'm sorry I missed them. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to.
Yeah. You think
there's
I think
a lot
I think the boroughs are way, way bigger though. Because I heard it's like 1 million people in like Brooklyn. Shit, they coming.
Dr. Dix, I'm telling you, they coming. And that's the problem with, I did a relocation list the other day video, and I'm telling you, South Carolina was loaded, Florida was loaded,
Yeah.
and a lot of people that were in Florida were moving from Miami to North. I said, now you're not gonna come from Miami and be in northern Florida acting up, because they're gonna show you.
Yeah, I feel you.
They're not gonna play with you like they play with you in Atlanta and Miami. They are gonna lose a lot of money.
Yeah, they're gonna lose a lot of money. But like I said, I think they're gonna let them out, and eventually, once they get that situation back, they're gonna bring them back in. Because I don't know if Buckhead really wants to just, actually run their own city. Because if they do that, urban speculator, do they have to hire their own police force?
Yeah, that part.
Yeah. Okay.
See, and that's the thing. I don't think, even Chicago, I don't think you need the National Guard doing anything.
Okay.
I really feel like if you're going, I hate to say it, if you're going to do the police thing, police ought to be 2 by 2 walking up and down streets.
Yeah.
Because really, this driving by the car thing, that don't make no sense.
I feel you.
Because you can't get on the ground, you can't really see people, you can't really do anything with it.
Yeah, but Atlanta has to do something about that violent crime issue, because they just allowed it to get out of hand, and it's going to be detrimental to business.
Well, the breaking into cars and all that stuff.
Exactly.
I saw Atlanta Scoop. I mean, like, it's literally, it's almost like what you call World Star. They'd be like, Atlanta Scoop. I'd be like, oh, y'all, that's bad.
Yeah.
Your city has a whole Instagram dedicated.
But when you have people shooting each other outside of like areas of commerce, that's not a good look. Like when they're in the neighborhoods doing it, nobody really cares because it's away from the public. But when y'all are doing it like outside of areas of commerce, it's not a good look for your city. They got to do something about that.
Ooh, he said homes near Grant Park by Krog Street Market are selling for 1.2 to 1.4 million. And then you got to think about down payment.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah. And then if
how
you look
can
at
I pack my bag and start my own business? You know how? Really, it's service-based businesses. It depends on what your skill level is. Always depend on your skill level. Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's why I was in Raleigh this past week checking out apartments, like just to do Airbnb or just see if I want to move, have like a second office kind of thing. And their prices was high. I said, come on now, y'all. Microsoft recently bought 90 acres near Grant Park. It's West Campus in the city of Atlanta.
Yep.
Y'all know where that is? Okay. Y'all telling me. Because I don't know.
That's a lot. That's a lot of acreage too. So they're going to have a whole complex down there. And they getting in now before the price really gets sky high.
How do we get new skills? Well, prime example, it depends. I bring on Tuesdays. I bring on Tech Tuesdays. Yep. A lot of ways for you to get into mentorships and groups that you can learn it. A lot of times is just knowing what these companies are looking for. Yeah. Because I'm going to just go ahead and say it. The reason Kevin Samuel's channel gets so popular is a lot of these young women don't even know what the average person makes in America. Yeah. They don't even know job titles, job names. And that could have stopped, I'm not going to blame your parents. I'm going to say you literally could sit at a computer and review, go on Glassdoor.com and see, okay, well, this pays 60, 70K a year. What is it? What do they need from me? And we have people not even doing critical thinking on that level.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the biggest challenge with Atlanta, like you said before, is a lot of people go there without a skill set. Mm-hmm. And they realize that, it's expensive to live there. There's going to be costs associated to it. And they don't know what to do after that because they didn't develop the skill set before they got out there. Appreciate it, Miss Bellamy. So, really look at getting the skills. You're doing the Tech Tuesdays, look into the tech. Atlanta's getting ready to be a big tech hub. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to get a lot of ancillary businesses based around that. So just try to figure out how you can get into that and try to figure out how you can get some of that money that's going to be going through that particular city because they're really trying to ramp that city up to make it, what it was always supposed to be. Atlanta's not supposed to be a city with a bunch of people doing street crime. There was always going to be crime there, but this street crime is something different.
Roscoe, if that's the true number, that's amazingly horrible. If that's all it took to get that boy to jail, that's horrible.
How did they get to Jay-Z though?
I don't know.
I feel you.
I really don't know. Let me see what else y'all have in here. We're getting close to the hour, y'all, so I ain't gonna be here too crazy. There's a bidding war for homes in South Carolina. I
Yeah.
believe it. I do believe it. I do see this in Austin. I can tell you right now where we lived, Runberg. All the black people moving to Pflugerville. So 1 in 5 people in Pflugerville are black,
Okay.
and it was because it was cheaper. But also, you meet black people from Ohio, Pittsburgh, all these places. Like, hey, I was online. The house was 185. I moved here, and so you're like, what? Like, but that's how bad Pittsburgh, Connecticut, Hartford, Ohio was. And they were like, I just want to get here to where this cheap house is. I'll
Yeah.
figure it out once I get here, which is dangerous tactic, but what a lot of people are doing. Birmingham, Alabama, yes, they're doing stuff near Hoover, Octavia, all that stuff, Vestavia Hills. Yeah, I mean, I really want people to understand affordable housing is where you buy it now and build it up.
Yeah.
Because I saw a video the other day for it was a property an hour outside of Philadelphia. It was 25K. It didn't look that bad at all. She put like I think 15, no, she put about 30K into it.
Okay.
It was spectacular. And I said, well, where is this at? She's like, about an hour outside of Philly.
Yeah.
Everybody's complaining about being in Philly and the houses and the this and that when they can move. I hate to say that, but that's the truth. You can move. They're doing the same thing in Miami. The pork and bean project's about to be tore down.
Yep. Well, Rebels, you remember I used to be in Carroll City. They call that now Miami Gardens. And then we also know that I don't know, did Beckham ever build that soccer stadium in Liberty City? Because once he was going to be able to do that, I said it's going to be it for Liberty City in the next overtime. Because those areas are too close to the beach. But see, nobody used to want to live there, but now those areas are
Yeah,
too
but
close
they
to the
had that
beach.
millionaire that invested in there, that white
Yeah.
man that brought the daycare, the after school program and stuff like
Yeah.
that. He said he'll still do it as long as there are poor people there, but I guess that's about to be over, huh?
Yeah, and then we also look at Little Haiti. There's something they're trying to gentrify because that particular area around Little Haiti is one of the few areas in Atlanta that's actually above sea level. So what back in the day, nobody wanted to live there. Now they're trying to get that particular area because we know Miami got a big issue with flooding. So they're going to continue to push people out of that area. I don't know whether they're going to push people north or push people down south in the homestead, but they finna go take all of Miami because we know in Miami, if you're not living on the beach, there's not a lot of other places to live.
There's 400 people in here. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel today. Make sure you hit the like button. My sister-in-law's on her 6th kid, but a third dude. But Jay Stokes, that's what I try to tell people. That burden gets shifted. If he's not there, guess what happens? And then I know too many families where, oh, can you help pick the kid up from school? Can you help do this? Can you help do that? And it starts to add up.
Yeah.
That's why when people say, well, I pay child support, I'll take care of my kids. And I go, are you feeding them? Are you picking them for school? Are you doing this stuff like that? Are you consistently all up in there?
Yeah, Roscoe, that's crazy. Yeah, because I mean, I'm from a city that the metro area got like 1.5 million people. So to have 2 million people in a borough, that's wild to me.
Buckhead Blue would be the name of their police force.
I feel you.
It's possible. In Queens, these areas saturated. You know, you are telling the truth. Birmingham's murder rate got out of control as well. That's what the first 48-hour show was at. And I think that's because you have extreme poverty, right? Instead of going somewhere else or looking for work or doing something out, it's just circle mentality. I live all the way in Grovetown, Jay. Is that far?
I haven't heard of it. Is that east, west, or south of the city?
D Brown said someone asked about skills. He said she went to Atlanta Tech, program 6 months to 2 years, pretty much free. I took class there, make over 30 an hour. I'm even bringing people on Tech Tuesdays that'll literally show you how, you know, you literally just come and participate in class, and they literally are hiring nonstop for these jobs, right? And they're training on the job for a lot of stuff.
Good job, D.
Yeah, that's been happening in Detroit for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I was telling the guy, I know you know Shavers. I was telling Shavers that Detroit, like in the 40s or the 50s, there wasn't no black people inside Detroit. I say that's what Detroit's going back to. Yeah.
Google certificates. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I try to talk to you, I go, if you're on this man's internet, there are free certificates just about everywhere. You know, Oracle even has something free for a while. Several of these places are like desperate. They make boot camps in Canada and in South America, parts of South America, where they're literally training them how to do one or two things. So imagine that somebody in a whole other country with a language barrier, they're putting them in rooms, training them for 4 or 5 weeks, and they can do the job. So you already in America. I'm trying to figure out what's the problem here.
I feel you.
Yes, this is true. I believe it.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Wife and I listening to y'all. Keep empowering those who will listen.
Okay, appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Joseph Ross, for a $10 super chat.
Yeah.
There is no government subsidies to build affordable housing. Housing is a business, not a charity or a human right popular to believe. Honey, don't scare them because you're telling
I
the
feel you.
truth, but they
I
don't want to
feel
hear
you.
that. They could have done a GoFundMe. They could have did a lot of stuff. I think when you have, and I'm gonna just say this, I've experienced some black people going, well, we're just gonna pray to the Lord about it. You know, the Lord gonna deliver you. You know, there's never any action to go, hey, we could stop what we're doing for 6 months and put some money together and put them on.
Exactly. So the
I could work
question,
a part-time job and get you up out of here.
so the question you got to ask is that what did they think? How valuable was he to them? Just let him sit in jail like that.
There you go.
That's the real question you really got to ask. Is just let him sit in there in jail like that. How valuable is he to them?
I've started to notice what people say they're expecting these kids to turn 18 and turn around and go to work and put money into the house. I actually know a family who the woman moved down to Atlanta for a job. Everybody told her not to. Her son that just graduated high school, who had a scholarship to a school in North Carolina, followed her down there. He said, I'm going to go help my mom with the other kid. That's not your job, son.
Yeah.
That's not even your job. And we are building kids who are like, oh, now I got to help my mom. And they get started late. Again, this goes into this whole argument where I keep telling people we get started late as a community because we're trying to help mom catch up where mom and dad didn't work out. And that's just not the business, y'all. That doesn't work.
Yeah. That's 130 miles from Atlanta.
Like, I salute you for driving that far for work, but good gracious.
That's a ride. Yeah, I got my cousins knows somebody that lives there. They told me Union City was a spot. That's a good ways out of Atlanta. I couldn't imagine going from Union City into Atlanta. And that's not 130.
And Cool Breeze, this is the problem here. We keep associating people getting more education with college. Some of it is just apprenticeship. Some of it's trade. Some of it you got to come out of your pocket, $300, $400 for a class and get it done.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Career source.
Thank you, Adrian. We appreciate the compliments.
Okay, appreciate it, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I just think we need to elevate the conversation a little bit here on YouTube. We kind of have gotten in the muck and the mire of silliness, and while we're doing all this silly talk, out here in the real world, consequences are happening.
Yeah, definitely. And the attitude that we can just ignore it and eventually it'll just go away is not going to happen. It's just going to get progressively worse. And I think a lot of times that's our attitude because we have this escapes that we can go to. We can go to social media. We can jump on television, watch a reality show. We can go out and, go to the bar. We can get caught up with somebody. And we kind of think that's the situation will improve over time. Eventually, they'll get it back together. It's not for a lot of people. The situation just continue to keep going downhill because when you ask yourself is this, if you're one of these young people in Atlanta, right, that's going to get caught up in this mass incarceration, but you already have children and then you get incarcerated, what is it going to look like for your kids? And so these are the kind of things that you got to understand why if we don't start trying to figure out how to put a stop to some of this stuff, it's just going to get progressively worse. It's not going to really get better over time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll do more Tech Tuesdays because I really do feel, and I'm gonna put it to you this way. I could easily teach you, hey, let's start businesses, let's do this stuff offline, let's start service companies, let's have a painting company, let's cut grass, I can show you a million ways. But I know some people want the safety and security of a job. If that is your mindset, I'm not here to tell you not to. I'm just telling you, you're going to at least have this, as Dr. Dick say, have the certification behind your name so they can't push you out the door. Right? That you've worked on it, that you've earned it. They can't take it from you. Or you can laterally hop to other jobs. Union City is right next to College Park, so that's not too far.
Yeah, it's a little south of College Park.
That's really sad. Do you see that?
Yeah.
5K for bail.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, this is how I go. A lot of people that sit in the county is because they can't make a bail.
Well, they had outlawed it in Arkansas that you couldn't keep holding people like this because it was wasting so much money. I think when I went to, and this is, I know people are gonna get mad at me, but CPAC, which is the conservative, basically party wing, their biggest thing was getting rid of bail's bondsmen because there's so many lawsuits, so much issues. It cost the United States $5.8 billion to keep holding people in jail because they couldn't afford bond.
Yeah.
And so they're like, how can we save money? Now, the Republican Party all about how can we save some money. So they're like, hey, let's go ahead and cut that. And people like, no, we need bail. And it was like, we literally could just tell judges, hey, unless they did a murder, a violent act, put them on out there so they can get so they have to come back to court.
Yeah.
Go ahead and empty this out. But again, what did we talk about before? The Old South.
Yeah.
Old South at the CPAC was like, nah, we don't want that.
Yeah.
We don't like that. So you get back into the circle of argument of we have a generation of people who are in office who are like, hey, guess what my answer is? Lock them up.
Yeah.
We got Joe Biden back in there. Lock them up. Crime bill, Joe Biden.
It sounds good too. Say lock them up.
It does. It sounds
Yeah, it
good.
sounds
Lock them
good.
up.
Sounds good.
Lock up
Lock
all
'em
these
up.
people who are cutting up. You know, it's gonna save everybody headache.
Yeah,
Is
it
it though?
sounds good. Yeah, a lot of the people that's locked up in the county, a lot of them are not even really violent criminals. They're not like what you call high-powered people. A lot of them in there for drug offenses. A lot of homeless people, and they just sitting in jail, and they never gonna make a bail.
Well, you also have, that's why they be getting those people to do plea deals. Another reason the CPAC was on it is they helped get this woman out. This woman was, let's just go there. It was a grandma. She had some kids with her in the mall.
Okay.
The 13-year-old stole something. She walked out with it in the bag. Instead of letting the police officer take the 13-year-old, she said, go ahead and arrest me.
Yeah.
Well, the grandma gets arrested thinking she going to get right back out. No. They held grandma for almost 4 months and took all the kids into child protective services.
They tripping.
And it wasn't until somebody in the city said, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Get this woman up out of here. That they started taking up the mantle for this argument that we're locking up people for something he could have wrote a citation for.
Yeah.
Right? We know it ain't you, grandma, who, stole the stuff. Clearly you got some teenagers with you. And so stuff is like that is happening. And that's what I mean. They're going to start sweeping people up and stuff that it's not going to be funny.
Yeah.
But that's mostly what I have for y'all today. We were just trying to touch base on Atlanta and what I see in the future. But that's why I bring on Diamond Dave, because if you understand some of these games where I'm meeting people who've never had a job, came out of college trading stocks, took extra courses, they just know how to do it. It's something they know how to do. It's their job. And it's a skill. And once somebody can't take that skill from you, which you got to be careful here. If you don't have the foundation, if you homeless sleeping in your car, I don't know if you need to be stock option trading, but I recommend Diamond Dave teach. Dave, tell me what you teach in your class.
So what we teach in our class primarily is, how to leverage the options market to get what you want to get out of life. So whether it's going to be that you want to spend more time with your family, you want to make more money, and you want to kind of get that ceiling off your income. So a lot of people, they know at the top of the year how much money they're going to make. We can try to figure out how to eliminate that. So our goal is to try to get you to around $2,000 a month, which is around $24,000 a year. Because once you get to that particular level, it'll change your perception of money because you know you can get money out of the market. But what I want to really encourage you to do is whether you utilize what I'm having to offer, maybe something else that Erica's having to offer, is don't get kind of desensitized to these particular offers that we're offering to you and kind of think that they're going to be here forever. This economy is in a flux. We're going into a change. This post-pandemic era is going to be very, very, very serious. So I want to encourage you to take advantage of something. So if Erica posts a link, or if you reach out to me and if you don't think that what I have is a good offer for you to help you get what you want, I really want to encourage you to look into something. Because what I don't want to happen is, for you to look up 4 or 5 years from now, and you're going to be in a bad position because you didn't take action on what was being offered to you.
Yeah. You're going to be in van life when van life ain't popping no more. You don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
Because see, it used to be, I don't remember Saturday Night Live where he's talking about, I live in a van by the river. And it was an embarrassing thing. Now people are like, yeah, I live in a van. Lord Commander is always a good example. I'll probably bring you on one of the Tech Tuesdays.
Okay.
I had $150,000 in student loans with 2 masters. I'm a cloud data engineer. I worked 3 $130,000 roles during the pandemic. I paid off my student loans and put $100,000 into my checking account.
Good deal.
Y'all, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That's why I bring it on. I think, listen, you guys are doing so great. Thank you. Listen, somebody said, Lord Commander, give me $36K to wipe out my debt. Y'all, wow. Y'all doing the most. Atlanta is the 4th turning. You know what? That's probably what I should have called this video. If anybody doesn't know what the 4th turning is, I'll put another post inside the community tab. It's a mindset, it's a thinking of every 20 years, there's a certain amount of turning that happens. And we are technically in the 4th turning.
Yeah.
I will agree. Wow, this is crazy. During spring break, it was $270 fine per kid for underage drinking. It's ridiculous. But that's how, again, when we say average person don't have $400, they really do mean that. There's some people who don't have $400 to get out of these accidents.
Yeah, I feel you.
But all right, you guys, listen, that's what I have for Atlanta. Thank you, Diamond Dave, for coming on. Listen, we still got to do our Game of Thrones conversation.
Yeah, let me know.
When they bring on Way of the Dragon, when they bring it on, I'm going to be like, that's up.
I feel you.
I will do more in Atlanta because I really feel like it's a city that's this like shining pillar of black Wakanda-ness. But again, if we don't own anything there, if you don't have a foothold in the city, it'll be gone. So
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could get up there and maybe ride around with like a I forgot what you call it, where you can post your camera on your
GoPro,
car. Yeah, and just show you how the city really looks, because I think a lot of people when they visit Atlanta, they don't really see those areas. And so they don't see the areas of where you have a lot of really, really severe poverty. And those are the areas that they're getting ready to clear out. You know what I'm saying? Because those are really prime areas close to downtown, like West End, like the Bluff, like a lot of the West Side. Those areas are getting ready to clear out. And I think a lot of people, when they go to Atlanta, because they don't know to go to those particular areas, they don't even know that they really exist. And so those can be the areas where you have a lot of opportunity, where a lot of the areas that you may go to as a tourist or as a visitor, you may not be aware of, that you can probably try to figure out how to take advantage of, especially because once that whole area around where the Braves Stadium used to be, that's going to be a very, very desirable area. That Summer Hill, Pittsburgh area, that's very desirable.
Listen, they want you to go show them Sim Street.
Yeah, I feel you.
Diamond Dave when he gets his free rent. Thank you guys. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, because I used to be in Edgewood, and they totally gentrified Edgewood. And I remember that if you used to go to Edgewood and nobody didn't know you, they knock your head off. And so you're seeing that these areas are totally gentrified. When you come off of 20, going north on, I think it's Moreland, that whole area has been gentrified. I forgot another area. It starts with a K. A lot of areas that you normally would just really, really severe areas. I'm telling you, if you go down there now, you see like a yuppie walking their dog. Yep. So you're just seeing that there's a lot of gentrification going on, and that I don't want people to miss out, because like I said before, is that it doesn't matter what you get into, just try to figure out how you can get a position and take advantage of this, because they're really, really going to move Atlanta in a certain direction.
Yeah. I mean, it's been that Cabbage Town, y'all naming all kind of
places.
Yeah, I
know Cabbage Town, exactly. Cabbage Town. So that's what I'm telling you, Brandon. You got to get into these areas. Those areas were been neglected. Nobody wanted to go there. These are really good spots right now that if you can get in now and just sit on it for maybe at least another 5 years. And these are areas that people didn't want to go into. Yeah, the Bluff is serious. That used to be right by Antioch, a church I would go to. Not a great area, but if you can get in now, it could be really profitable for you. Kirkwood, that's what I meant. Kirkwood. Yeah,
everybody's Kirkwood. Like Kirkwood.
Yeah,
Kirkwood.
It's. I went through Kirkwood.
Somebody said Mirkwood.
There was a $700,000 house on a block in Kirkwood, and that it wasn't comparable to any other houses, but a builder had put it down there and he couldn't sell it.
Oh man, thank you guys. I really do appreciate all the super chats, all the support on the channel. You guys are awesome. Listen, we will be back. We will have more discussions, because I think I see some of the path forward. I see some of the lanes that are opening up. Yeah. Even this week, y'all, I'm doing options trading. For one, there's just one company I saw. I was just like, I'm gonna do it. Okay. But I'm telling y'all, go watch Snow on the Bluff. What is that? Yeah,
I seen that. I seen Snow on the Bluff. Yeah, I seen that.
Not the old stroll. Now, come on now. It's the old Strolls Metropolitan. Okay, we got this. Listen, y'all naming these places. I don't know if I want to go there.
Yeah, I know about Hateville. Yeah, I know about Hateville too.
So yeah, okay, you guys. This is your girl Erica from the Classic Climb blog. Thank you for discussing Atlanta. You guys, the way Atlanta goes is the way a lot of future gonna go. You better get where you're trying to get in. It's a little crazy. Diamond Dave, please tell them where they can find you on social media before we roll out.
You can find me on YouTube under Diamond Dave. Find me on the Instagram under Diamond_Dave, and also can find me on Facebook under David Williams. So I want to tell you, reach out to me. Let's connect. And if not, hit me up on the Just Stocks Talk. It was a Just Stocks Profit channel, and also on my particular channel, and also be doing shows with Erica Williams on the Classic Climb.
All right, you guys. This is your girl Erica. Thank you for coming through today.